Hey y'all, a good Monday evening to you. Think that needs some paint? Yeah, I reckon. It's been there 100 years. I guess it needs another paint job. Paint's not that old, but sure looking like it, ain't it? Yeah, we have had it on the books for a couple of years. Oh, y'all want to see this, I know. Puppies have been outside today. Of course, they've been secured in the backyard, but Jordan's on the way home, and Sissy's in control out here. They're getting a little snack. They're on full dog food now, but they still like to get a little milk from Mama. But they're about 15 pounds each, and all of them are doing well. They had their first round of vaccinations Sunday. We gave them to them here at the house, so keep that old parvo bug away from them and all the rest of them. How's y'all's Monday going? Y'all can sound off where you're at. We'll do a little roll call here in a minute. But if y'all like, we'll take a little stroll and visit a minute. I know some of y'all are probably on the way home from work, so put down the phone, concentrate on driving, and we can always catch up in a little bit, right? Most times I'm not able to read all the comments after the live in one sitting. Thank y'all for that, but they always encourage me through the week as I hear your kind words. Speaking of that house paint thing, now I'm not real comfortable with this, but folks have encouraged me and asked me to do different things. And the stars feature is now enabled on Facebook for our page under the videos. And we're going to paint that house regardless. But if y'all want to have a little part in that, we've got a good friend down Colleen Way. And my cousin and all, we're going to be getting together. They know what to do, and we'll make fairly short work of it here in another month or two. But if y'all want to be a part of that project, all the stars that you send, we'll go to that. And we'll be thanking you publicly for that if you'll allow us to. But I'm excited about that. We crossed the old 60,000 threshold. I'm just flabbergasted at that, but I guess I'm not really that surprised. There's a lot of good folks around, and y'all are definitely part of them for sure. It encourages me to see all the positivity and the interactions that y'all share. I've been not melancholy, not sad, just I guess introspectful. Is that a word? I guess it is now since I said it. About things. Some of y'all new to the page, I talk about it a lot. This old post oak here, if you can see it, it's hard to tell in this picture. A third of it's laying over there on the ground. Lightning strike hit that one afternoon while I was doing one of these walking talks about 4 or 5 years ago. I was right out there and lightning hit that tree, and I decided that was the end of that video for the day. But we've dated that tree, and it'll go every bit of 300 years old. So it's seen some things. Really has. It's unfortunately dead now, so I guess I'm going to try to document as much footage as I can while it's still standing. The lightning didn't necessarily hit it. It lived another couple of years, but we had a drought. Was this 2025? I guess 2023 got pretty dry around here, and it knocked off a few of these old trees, and I'm afraid with its weakened condition, this was one of them, because there wasn't a leaf on it this year. So its time is done. My good friend and cousin, Randy, was over here the last couple of days with his equipment, and as y'all can see, we've made quick work underneath it of things. Used to be hedgerow, if y'all can remember walking this area all the way out to these little oaks right here. It got me thinking, that's dangerous, y'all know. But and really thinking about it, and our heritage, and how sometimes the old oaks, the wisdom of our past, the grandmas and grandpas and dads and mothers of faith that spent time on their knees, giving us that covering and that shade through prayer of protection, and how life's design is that we're all in exile here. The goal is to get to the other side, isn't it? And so many of those in my life are starting to make that transition. Of course, lost mom and 2019, and her sister Retta passed. And I guess it kind of hit me with my Aunt Bonnie. She's still in good health. She'll probably be watching this, and she knows how I feel about her. But prayer warriors in our life. She's the last of the 3 girls, and she's aging and having to take on some long-term care. And the gravity of it hit me the other day as I think about this old home place where they grew up, and these old oaks. Trees were never young when they were here, if it's 300. But they grew up under the shade of this tree, and I guess I did too. But there comes a time when the old ones with the roots have to go and make way for the new oaks to come along. I just hope we can do the same job of holding the faith and the heritage that they did. It's protected me and shielded me from God knows what all over my life. Perception's a funny thing. I was telling a mother come home from shopping, picked up a few groceries on the way, and got home, and she'd bought some apples, and a little girl of hers was there in the kitchen helping her unload, and was unloading some of the stuff, and I said, "Sweetheart, give me one of those apples." Well, the little girl looked at the 2 apples there on the cabinet and picked them both up. She began to study them and wash them a little bit. She took a bite out of both the apples. Absolutely infuriated the mother. The gall of that little girl at her mother's request to give her an apple. And she took a bite out of both of them. I guess some would say ruining both of them for the mother. She yelled at the little girl, why would she do that? How rude that was when asked for a share that she didn't. The little girl looked at her mother confused, and tears began to well up in her eyes. And she said, "Mom, I wasn't trying not to share. I just wanted you to have the best apple, so I thought I would taste them first before giving you the best one." The mother melted when she realized how much that she loved that little girl, and the little girl loved her, and sometimes decisions made by others in our best interest, we don't see it that way. They hugged and talked about the goodness of the Lord and how he shared his son on that cross that day to die for all of us. What looked to be a horrible situation brought grace and salvation to us all, didn't it? Old oaks and young oaks. I guess it was, 1876, somewhere along in there. There's a railroad, Texas and New Orleans, they called it. It had a few rocky years, but it was running from, I believe, Houston to Orange, Texas. Kind of my stomping grounds way back. Not that far back, though. But there was a conductor on that line back in those early days that had bought him a Waltham 1870 Crescent Street watch. One of the first railroad watches made for precision back in that time as the transit across the United States started. Well, he died and generations came along, and lo and behold, one of his great-great-great-grandchildren was an old farmer in the rural parts of Texas. Old farmer made a pretty good living along the way. He had him a few critters and a couple of barns. And that watch had been passed down to this young man, this farmer. He was mighty proud of it. So proud of it, he didn't have sense to leave it in the house for safekeeping. He wore it everywhere he went because it kept such good time over all those years. Held a sentimental value as well. Well, as you'd know it, he's out in the hay barn trying to sort the hay on the floor. Got busy working and moving around and lost the watch. He was distraught. He spent most of the rest of the afternoon trying to find it amongst the hay. throwing the pitchforks around and just couldn't find it. Well, he became exasperated and walked to the door of the barn. And he noticed the neighborhood kids were out in the pasture playing, goofing off, and he called them over, about 4 of them. He said, "Hey, boys, look, I lost my prized pocket watch that's been passed down. It means a lot to me. If y'all would, try to find it for me. Whoever finds it's going to get a big reward." Well, them boys got excited. They was all about reward money. So they got to digging through that hay and romping around and hollering and throwing stuff around, just could not find that watch. This went on about 2 hours before the boys' attention span had given up, and they were about to leave. One little straggler young man, as his friends walked away, stopped and asked the farmer, he said, "Sir, would you mind if I look for that watch by myself for a little longer?" The farmer said, "Well, you look pretty sincere. I don't reckon it'll hurt anything." He said, "All right." So the farmer left the boy alone there in the barn, and the little boy, about 30 minutes later, appeared at the door, to the farmer's surprise, with the beautiful heirloom watch that he had found. The boy was beaming ear to ear as he handed the watch to the farmer. The farmer said, "Son, how in the world, in 30 minutes, did you find that watch by yourself when y'all spent 2 hours looking for that watch?" He said, "Well, it's simple." He said, "I went and sat down in the middle of the barn on the haystack and got quiet and listened. Before long, I heard the ticking of that watch, and I just made my way toward it. So I found it." Y'all know where I'm going with this one. Sometimes if we get still and we stop listening to the noise around us and we seek his face, he'll make himself known. He'll comfort you. You'll walk toward him. He'll help you find the watch that you're looking for. Won't he? Thought about all the would-be regrets of my life, the goofy living and wrong choices. But I can't call them regrets, because I guess every bump in the road led me back to this old pasture with a certain gravitas and a different meaning than it might have had I not been through those bumps. I don't know that I'd want to go through them again, but I wouldn't trade them for what it's made me. Right? I know we all have those stories, and we need to live and rejoice in that. For those of you that feel like you're stuck, don't know how to make a change, well, it's a choice, isn't it? They say not choosing or not changing is a choice in itself. We have this perceived notion that we're stuck. Maybe we are to a degree, but we're still free, and we got a little breath in our lungs and hope. Maybe we need to make some hard choices to have a little bit of peace. It wasn't an easy road to get to here, but I'm sure thankful for those old oaks of praying mothers and grandmothers that did that for me, for sure. And I got done listening to all the noise. Guess I heard the ticking of that watch. I don't know if it's I don't know if it's a watch or a bomb some days, though, right? Oh, read a comment this morning from someone on an old video, and it pretty much summed it up. I won't get it right, but in essence, it talking. I think it was the Sweetwater video, but said for so long they had tasted the water and it was bitter until they came to know the Lord, and then they understood that the water was sweeter than they remembered. It's not because the bad things don't happen and we don't go through trials. Lord, if you're going to follow the good Lord, you better buckle up, because you're still going to have trials and problems. I mean, that's our human condition. We live in a rough old world, but it's different when you got a best friend to walk with you and give you hope and faith and peace, and knowing that when you make that crossover, that for you made your election sure. I don't think any of us getting out of here alive. Well, pretty much. What's the death rate? 1 for 1? At least it was last time I checked. I don't think it's changed any. You'll have those that cheer and laugh, and that's all right. You know, that's their thing. Even down to your mommy, your daddy, your grandparents, your children. There's only one person that's going to face that final hour with you, and that's you. So as for me, when I hit that final hour, hopefully a couple of 100 years from now, I'm at peace with knowing that I know where my hope lies. So you can jump up and down and tell me whatever you want to, but you don't have to walk that journey with me, do you? So I guess that's how I feel about it. There's a little old boy back in the day in Rome, of all places. Bells coming off the Chapel Sistine and the other complex there, and every morning, right at daylight, when those bells would chime for the first of the day to wake up the village and the animals and tell everybody it was time to pray, that little boy would be in earshot of that old bell, and he'd whistle. Just do a whistle. He was whistling to catch the tune of that bell. So he'd sharpen up his whistle, and he'd go to whistling that tune the rest of the day, set to the tone of that bell. We walked the city streets and whistling. Some of the shopkeepers he got on their nerves. It seemed like he was off. Just didn't sound right in tune. Just wore on them, kind of like an earworm. Couldn't get it out of their head. Well, it went on for months and years, and one day an old shopkeeper was feeling pretty salty and just fed up with it. He said, "Young man, come here." Young man walked over whistling. He said, "Son, why you whistle every day when you walk up and down this road? You're out of tune." He said, "Oh, no, sir, I'm not out of tune. Not at all. You see, every morning when that bell rings, I go down there and I make sure that I'm in tune and on tone with that bell. And that's the tone that I whistle all day long." Old shopkeeper shook his head, and they got to talking about it. It wasn't until they inspected the bells that they found the problem. The weather, the elements had corroded some of that copper and brass that made that bell, changed its tone from what it was intended to be, and it just was a little off because of the weather and the elements. So since the little boy was setting his tone to what he was hearing, when it was off, in turn it made him out of tune. I think I look around and I see that so prevalent in today's society. A lot of us are tuned into the wrong bells. We're thinking they're bells of peace and maybe even a little Christianity, some religion, telling us that we can have whatever we want, act however we want, dream for millionaire houses. If only we'd just follow them. But we're just a little bit out of tune, and we miss the mark of that tone that's correct. Those of you that don't know him, and I knew him but didn't want to be his friend for so many years. You think you're slick, that's all right. You'll come to understand one day, hopefully. Pray that you do. You're super, super privileged right now. If you've ever heard the name Jesus Christ, you've beat the odds on so many of Earth's population over time. We live in a privileged and blessed nation to be able to practice and worship our Lord and Savior. Maybe you could stop and be like that little boy in the barn and get quiet, tune out those off-tone bells, and talk to him a little bit like you would a friend. Might be surprised what'll happen in your life. You'll just take that step toward him. That's what I found. It took an old rundown farm of 100 years to teach me that, and I'm sure mighty thankful about it, right? Well, it's a little airish, as they say. My finger's about numb, even though it's only about 40. It's like that old coffee cup. This phone's getting heavy in my hand, y'all. if y'all want to do a quick roll call, we'll do that. I'll slip over here and put on my spectacles. Guess we'll go over here to the fence. Sissy's back there with the puppies. We're about to bring them in for the evening. It's all right during the day with these sunny days, but they're still a little young to be out here at night. So we've got a house full of animals in the evening. Everybody's kenneled up, but 2 milk bottle goats and 4 puppies and Sissy and Bart. Y'all want to see them? Here we go. Everybody's ready to go in, ain't they? Oh, let me turn on the camera. I'm sorry. Well, it won't turn around. There we go. There's one little baby goat. There's little Ruby. Sissy, you've got your hands full now, don't you? Better watch it. Them little goats are going to start trying to find your milk. There's a little charcoal gray one. And they are ready for milk bottle time. And Sissy just ready to get out of there. What do you think about it, Hank? Yeah, that's a little abnormal. He normally don't like coming up. Maybe he likes the camera. Right? Yeah, you're a good boy. But puppies and goats everywhere, y'all. Yeah, you're all right, buddy. Well, let me do this roll call. And I'm going to have duties to attend to pretty quick. Them little puppies are enjoying the sunshine for sure. All right, let's see who all's on here real quick. And those joining late, we was talking about the stars earlier. Y'all do what you want to with it. Appreciate all the subscribers, seeing the behind the scenes content. But all the stars will go to painting this old house. We're gonna get it done regardless. All right, let me look through here. There's Randy. Hey, buddy, how are you? Good to see you. Thank you. I have an answer on the hats. I didn't know which route to push you. I'm gonna be messaging you on that, so you'll have an option for that. Out of Greensburg, Kentucky, he is. Let's see, there's Carol Chapman Heath coming in from Southern Illinois. Y'all, these goats, they're ready to be fed. Surprised they're not hollering louder. Who else is on here this evening? Y'all check off and we'll talk about it. Mr. Eric Hall, many good conversations. Blessings from Lit-Car, Kentucky. All right. My good friend out Huntsville way, Miss Donna Wells, Wild Man, back at you. How are you? That's about a 6-year tradition, isn't it, Donna? About every time you come on, that's what we do. Wild Man. I'm in the wild for sure. There's Howard Brooks. Howdy to you. I see my daughter in there creeping. She may not say anything, but how are you, sweetheart? I love you. I'm just a scrolling. There's Leslie Graham. Thank you, ma'am. I guess I should start reading these through the whole thing, then I get distracted. I don't need much to do that. Regina's saying howdy from southern Mississippi coast. Good to see you checking in, ma'am. Miss Carrie up Michigan way. How are you? I'm doing pretty good remembering all these towns, aren't I? There's some of them not telling me, but I remember. Laurie's in Hudson, Florida. Let's see here. Holly's saying howdy. All right, good to see you on. Let's see. There's Tracy Rye. Hey, how are you? Y'all feel free to share these little old videos. Some of y'all will notice that the terrain and the seasons change through some of these videos, and with a paying job, it's hard to come on and do one every day. So we've been doing this, I guess, since 2018, and I'll go back through and watch some of the archive ones and find little lessons and points from different times of the year, and just kind of whatever's on my heart that day, I'll share it. So don't let the seasons fool you. You might see different dogs, and there's no telling what you'll see. I'm ready to get my turkeys back. I miss seeing those in those old videos. We had about 20 of those bourbon reds, and I've got I think 20 ordered for spring. So we'll have them on the place again, but they are some pretty to watch walking around. And we've definitely got the critters to guard them this year. We're dog poor for sure. I know our goats out, my doe goats are getting ready to domino. It'll probably be March, so we're still a month or two away, but we'll probably have about 4 or 5 on the ground come March, and I'm looking forward to that. It'll be more bottles and more milk in the house, I guess, if it's does. There's Miss Tracy. Hey, how are you? Birdie Lee, great message. Thanks, and God bless you. You too, ma'am. Mike, well, thank you, Mike. Good to see you always checking in. I don't know what Carrie's about, but I'm sure I'll find out. Let's see. Laura Martin Duke. Great message. I call it story time. Precious Wood. Thank you. I appreciate you. I see your last name there, Duke. Or Miss Duke, I'm sorry. That was my grandmother that was the longest living on this place. That was her maiden name, was Duke. So that's pretty cool, isn't it? Terry Chapman, thank you. Let's see who else is on here. Hey, I'm talking. He said, I don't care. One of our subscribers, Hannah's getting, of course, I wasn't really wanting to get rid of these puppies, so it wasn't about that, but she had 2 or 3 dogs when they moved from San Antonio back home to Douglas, Texas. And through age and events, the dogs, their lifelong dogs, went on their way. So they're looking to, they've got a couple that they've already adopted, but she sure wanted one of these baby boys. So Dad's taking Samson, the all-white one, and Yana is getting the other little male, and I believe they're going to call him Bo, which I don't know if she realized it or not, but Sissy's brother that came to this place originally, his name was Bo. And unfortunately, he got into an argument with a log truck early one morning and didn't win, and that was a bad deal about 4 years ago. But I thought that was pretty cool that she's going to name that little boy Bo. So Ruby and the other one that we haven't named yet, so the 2 little girls will stay here, and we'll see what works out there. Melissa's saying the world is rough, but God gets us through. Isn't that true? From North Carolina. Let's see if I missed anybody. Still scrolling. I need me a projection screen or something so I can just read these at a glance, right? Deb Bennett, how are you? Paula's checking in from the Adirondack. I don't catch you live very often. It's nice to do so tonight. Well, I'm glad you did. Thank you for taking the time to comment. It's a little longer. Let's say, sure do make a difference in my life. Have a wonderful night. You know, I appreciate y'all saying that. I get a lot of those compliments that say thanks for the daily messages and making a difference, but that's definitely reciprocal, I can tell you. Y'all encourage me as well, just knowing that we're all spreading a little light. You know, Facebook likes to call them followers, but I think I'm calling y'all light bearers. We all are. That's our duty, whatever stage we're at. But so we've got 60,000 fellow light bearers on the page. I like that much better. Because y'all sure don't need to be following me. I'm fallible. We all are. That's why we have to put our faith in Christ and not a man. But I do appreciate all y'all's support. And those little messages, the short ones, when something hits you just right, share that. You'd be surprised who sees it and who it might make a difference to in that day. I know sometimes I minister to myself. I know it may sound crazy, but some of these old ones and seeing the struggle when I first moved in here, and we've still got new struggles, but I'll watch it and study on it, and sometimes it just doesn't even feel like me talking. I just listen to it, and sometimes I need my own advice more often than not. So what they say, when you point a finger at somebody, you got, 3 or 4 pointing back at you? Well, that's pretty much where I'm at most days. Kathy, hope y'all's day went well. Going to be cold again next few days here in Tennessee. She says she's tired of it, but she's not complaining. Not the only one. Have a good evening. Well, you too, Miss Kathy. Let's see who else is on here. I'm just scrolling. Judy said, my parents were both great prayer warriors, and I thank God every day for them. I know their prayers brought me back. Let's see. I've only got just 2 lines I can read at a time, y'all. I know the prayers brought me back from a life that wasn't the best choice to live with the love for God. That's right. We have to be thankful for those things. Steve says amen. I think, too, a lot of folks, whether they admit it or not, we long for those simpler times. I've said it before. Our grandparents didn't have necessarily a whole lot of education or money, but they lived a life of peace, right? It's hard work and peace because they was following the principles that they knew in the good book. And now that we've got too smart for our britches and we know it all, it seems like we're living a life of turmoil and confusion, don't we? I know the first garden that I put in on this place of any size was 2019, the year that Mom passed in June. And I'd been around gardening, didn't know much about it, did some research, talked to some folks, and some family friends and people that had done it all their lives showed me a few tricks on the tomatoes and all. And I go back and look at that video, and that garden was absolutely phenomenal, beautiful. And I didn't really know what I was doing. I was taking it on faith and the knowledge of folks around me. And man, it made a beautiful yield. Even in the midst of Mom passing, it was just a beautiful garden. Well, so I figured in 2020 and 21 and 22, 23, I knew so much about gardening, I was just going to have a bumper crop. So now that I'd learned, I got out there and put in a garden. First year, nah. Second year, tilled up too much and washed the whole thing down the street. The next year, we was going to make enough peas to feed Nacogdoches County during COVID. And the rains came and washed out 4 different plantings before we finally gave up. I think that year I got 1 cantaloupe out of 2-acre garden when I knew it all. So I'm kind of looking forward to going back just to not knowing it all anymore and doing it on faith and the knowledge of those around me, because that's when it paid off the most. So that's what I'm headed for this year, if anybody wants to know. So we'll see how it goes. I'm just going to throw the knowledge out the window and go back to the basics, right? Randy saying, thank you, Jesus, for my blessings. I am so undeserving of such a great love. I think that's where people get hung up even with Christianity. And you can take religion, throw it out back with let the chickens peck on it, because I don't have no use for it. But I think we have to assemble ourselves. You know, a lot of folks, y'all ever went out to eat? I remember back when I was a kid, going to Orange of all places. I remember 2 separate seasons, both at Christmas time. Mom would go take us down to Greens Point Mall back when that wasn't a target shooting zone. And we'd shop for Christmas and go back home to Huntsville, load up in the car, and go down south, East Texas, to Orange for Christmas. And 2 separate occasions before I was 10, I remember getting food poisoning from Arby's there in the mall. And no slight on Arby's, whatever it was worth, but twice in as many seasons that happened. But you know what, to this day, I still go out to eat. I might go to an Arby's, don't even think about that. That food poisoning did not stop me from going to restaurants. Now, I won't go to that one in Greens Point anymore. It's not there now, but I wouldn't go if it was, because the experience wasn't the best. But it didn't stop me from going to a restaurant, or from eating for that matter. Anytime you get a group of people together, social, religious, whatever it is, there's going to be some issues, right? Not everybody gets along together like they should, because we all have pride, we all have issues and misunderstandings. But to use that as an excuse to never go out to eat again, or go to another church, if you will, that's kind of silly, if you ask me. Because the very person you're following, or should be following, you want to talk about betrayal. You can't match it. Well, the old man said, you can't match that hand. No, his own people, his own church, if you would, strung him up on a cross and crucified him while they spit and jeered at him. Yet, with all the power, he could have taken the world out at that point, but he didn't do it. And yet we'll stay home from church on Sunday, or pout for a few months because somebody said something, or the pastor ran off with the secretary, or whatever. I guess you're serving a different God than I am, because I'm there to gather and to worship and to do my part with fellow believers. Those that don't believe so well and they're going to church, well, that's probably right where they need to be, right? See, I'll remember that as you decide to get jaded. Maybe you've been hurt in the past and wandered a little bit away from God, and maybe you say, well, I just have God at home. That's just, well, you can. He's there just as he is anywhere, but we have to obey the word. He said to gather. Maybe you don't have to go to a big church, but gather with like minds and have a Bible study once a week, or meditate with other believers, because we all have struggles and disappointments and Sometimes it takes the body of believers to lift us up, right? That's why they're there. Well, I wasn't going to get on that, but that was free. So let me go back to this roll call if anybody's still on here. Let's see. Number of great lessons today. Thanks, Mary. Thank you. You and Jordan have a nice night. Yeah, he just rolled in from work. Notice he stayed off camera, but I did cue him up to make sure the puppies were taken care of in case I got distracted out there in the pasture. Of course, I didn't have to tell him that. Shirley's saying stay warm. I'm trying. That sun's sinking, and so is the temperature. Dennis, hey, how are you, buddy? Boy, I'm just rattling tonight, y'all. I'm sorry. Regina saying, oh, I'm out of context on the flow. Bruce is in Ohio. Tracy enjoys my stories. Thank you. It's just a lifetime of gleaning and things I see and just want to pass along. Let's see who else here. There's Mary Ackley. Saying Mary from Ohio. Okay. Diane Allshite. Hey, how are you? I'm just going to be honest. I still got that silly Christmas card. I got her address late because I overlooked it. And, see, I'm just as human as the rest of y'all. I've got it filled out, ready to go, and just hadn't went from here to that mailbox. Ain't that a shame? But I'm going to get it to you, ma'am. I will. I finally got the address, and we're good to go. But I might just need to pull it out and change it to Happy Easter. That way I'm ahead. That'd be all right. Look funny. I guess you could have an Easter tree. Some people do. I mean, without Christmas, we couldn't have had Easter, right? That's how I see it. It's coming, I promise. Mike out in Cottonwood, California. Good to see you. Shirley, thank you for the compliment on the babies. Alabama's in the house with Tracy. Marge Charbonneau, Cold Rochelle, Illinois. Yeah, a couple of my sons live up in Illinois, and those pictures, now I know why I'm in Texas. I don't think I can handle it. Not too long, anyway. Charles is from Oregon. Good to see you, sir. Kenneth, real nice saying today, Joel. Some cute little goats. Yes, they are. I always get nervous when the horns honk, but all my animals are secure, so we're good. Rita's in Western Kentucky. Deborah's in Claxton, Georgia. Man, I'm still scrolling, y'all. That's the only thing about only having about 4,000 or 5,000 followers. We could conversate. So my desire to do that with all of y'all turns into a 2-hour-long video, doesn't it? Reading comments, that's all right. BK, good to hear from your stories. Have a great evening. Peggy, hey, how are you? Thank you for that. Laura's in Port Charlotte, she said, Florida. Robert, how are you tonight? Keep thinking I'm going to get to the end. Let's see. Tom, thank you for all you do as well. I share every chance. Love you guys, and God bless them. From Sydney. Kentucky. I thought it was Australia there for a second. Sydney, Kentucky, just better. Stateside. We're going to keep trying. If y'all ever come on and I haven't put one on every day, I hadn't went anywhere. Just some days I just run out of steam, y'all. But I'm gonna try. So we'll see how that goes. Deb is in Southeast Louisiana. Have a warm evening. Love the babies. Thank you, ma'am. Nanette's in Tennessee. And the cats are hungry, according to the sounds. 2 black cats, 2 white cats, and a calico. And 0 snakes or rats. That's what happens when you have 5 of them outside. Patricia, blessings back to you, ma'am. Let's see. Robert's in Locust Grove, Georgia, he says. West Virginia with Vonda. Let's see. Karen, how are you? Good to see you too, ma'am. I think that's about all that I see here. Melissa's sending a thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Tom, by the way, I don't know. Hold that phone so still to video. Please share with me the secret. I may be able to, let's see, I may be able to help you along the way. Oh, well. Well, thank you, sir. I don't know. It just, from day one, it just became a habit. I just hold it up like this and walk around. So sometimes when I'm out of frame, I'm not even looking at it. But I guess the Lord gives me a little extra strength because I couldn't hold a coffee cup up that long. I know that. Gene, Martinville in the house. Good to see you, sir. Lynn Thomas from Windy, California. Prayers for y'all. I don't want to neglect prayers for all those wildfires. Me and Randy was trying to do a little control burn in the pasture this evening, and it's dry and easy to burn, but it just wasn't catching. We got a few little old black spots done, but we was talking about California. We get a little wind gust and it would take off a little bit, and I can't imagine the inferno that's burning out there and all the severe loss and tragic heartbreaks right now. So prayers for our fellow neighbors out that way. Hopefully we'll get a reprieve in the wind and the rain. The firefighters can catch up with it before it gets any more lives. Shirley, have a great name for the other little girl if you want one. Well, go ahead and send it. We'll consider it for sure. Thank you. Robert Nash, love yours. Okay, that's everybody for tonight. I'll get in here and read the rest of them if I missed them, because these puppies and goats don't care about Facebook videos or roll calls. They just want milk and food. So let me go handle those. Y'all have a good night. Be blessed. Be the light. And don't be scared to retune that whistle, right? Maybe sit still on the haystack and listen for the watch ticking in the quietness. Yeah. Be the light. Good night.